So let's bring in Davis Sanchez here, NFL, CFL vet. Thanks, Chaz. Appreciate it. Which side are you? CFL on TSN. What are you voting, Guy? Are you on the favor of the kickers or not?
I hadn't heard about that. That's kind of crazy. The chips. So, well, I would like to hear from some other kickers who are making kicks and see what they say. If they say it affects them as well, then it's fair. I mean, how about this, Roddy? Did he, before he missed the kick, did we hear anything about him complaining about chips? If he did, then that's fair.
Well, no. Listen, your boy Jim Barker was on last hour. And I know you never miss Barks on here. And he said, because David Cote of the Cote was 2 for 2 for the Alouettes. But he's like, yeah, those were short kicks, and he's on the side of the kickers. Like, there's more on this. Brett Lowther's formally registered a complaint with the CFL saying we didn't kick with all these balls in training camp. Richie Leone's saying the left side of the ball has the logo on it and the chip, and the kicks went wide left. It sounds to me like you're saying there's just a bunch of complaining on the kicker's behalf. Or are you on the side of kicker?
I'm going to do something that you really don't want for your show, and I'm going to pass judgment. I got to figure out. I need some more info. This is the first I've heard of it, Rod. As usual, you're breaking news here. I don't know about this. So
how about that?
And hey, it's what we do.
Yeah.
Well, it all came out. Literally after the game, right? Castillo missed those kicks, and he's like, it's these chips. That's what he said. And I immediately went to David Cote's thing because the CFL has the stats working, and he was 2 for 2. I'm like, well, he's fine. He's not complaining. So anyways, I guess the bigger question then moving on is how concerned should Bomber fans be, or even Mike O'Shea for that matter, that they lost in the fashion they did?
Yeah. Did we not think going into that game that was the perfect spot for the Bombers to just smack Montreal? You know, they sat there for 5 months or 6 months, and you know that loss stewed in them. Montreal's been kind of everyone's darling, right? In the last month here, everyone's like, Montreal seemed to be the team. And I thought Winnipeg was going to smack them. I didn't think that, not because I think that Winnipeg's that much better than Montreal this season. I just thought it was the perfect spot. So for that, I'm even more concerned than I was, because I think that was the perfect storm for them to give Montreal the business. And it was a complete opposite. So they looked, you know what they looked, Roddy? They looked, I don't know, like to your opinion, but they looked slow. They didn't look like an explosive team. They didn't look threatening to me.
They looked dead. And hey, I picked Montreal, but only because of Cody. I didn't actually think they'd win. And I kept waiting all game for Winnipeg to wake up. And they didn't. I watched it right to the final gun. And I'm like, what I'm hearing from the people over there is they didn't play their vets in the preseason. Is that a legitimate explanation?
I think for Zach it would be, especially, right? I mean, there's a timing thing that goes with, you know, full speed reps with getting hit. For me, I don't think Zach looked like. I'm not going to say Zach is soft or doesn't. He's obviously a gamer. He's a quarterback at the highest level, or the second highest level, and so he's a good player. But I feel like anytime the pocket collapsed, he didn't look comfortable. He wanted to get rid of the ball and get the heck out of there. And if you're 30, how old is that? 36 or 7 or something? He's up there. You know, if you haven't been hitting 8 months and you're that age, and all of a sudden these guys are bearing down on you, I just think he felt uncomfortable in the pocket, and he kind of seemed fragile, to be honest. If that's a fair word to use.
Unconfident, yeah, I get totally. He looked all of that, but I'm not too worried. It was only one game, and I don't think Mike O'Shea's worried. But hey, if you made a Grey Cup prediction, I didn't see it. Have you made it yet?
Yeah, it was Montreal and BC, to be honest.
Me too.
Really? I mean, of course. I mean,
yeah.
Right. Two gurus like us, of course we're on the right side.
How about
that? Yeah, well, hey, tell your boy Dunnigan to text me back, because last year he nailed it. He was the only guy to say Winnipeg, Montreal last year. So I'm like, hey, stud, what do you got this year? And then he didn't write me back. I know he's been traveling, but I'd like to know, unless he's saving it. But, yeah, I mean, you also are alum of Montreal and BC, so I wonder, do you favor those teams?
Yeah, I have more relationships with those teams than others. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely. But when I'm picking, I don't go by that. I don't, part of this job we have is to just give our honest opinions and not. I could care less if people like my opinion or not. It's better to be liked than not be liked. So of course I like that, but also my job and our job is to be honest. I didn't pick them for any reason. Look at Milt. I mean, Milt's the most beloved guy in football in this country by probably a pretty wide margin. And he picks against the Bombers all the time, and he'll tell you what he doesn't like about the Bombers, which is one of the reasons people love him, because he's honest, and he'll hopefully try to give honest opinions.
They named a road after him, for God's sakes, as you know, and there's a Hooters on it, which I think is a bonus.
How about that?
But Milt is so good. Yeah, but as far as the honesty thing goes, and by the way, I didn't think you favored Montreal and BC with your picks. Trust me, I get it, but I just enjoyed. You had great times with those teams, but I picked the Riders to struggle, and whoo boy, that ain't going over great in Sask, which I also don't care. But what is your take on the Edmonton Sask game on Saturday? Do you want to say who you think will win or why?
Yeah, I want to toss something out to you. I just thought of this right now. There was a comment made on the panel last night, and it kind of just slid by, and no one said anything. And our stuff is so fast on there, and there's so many things we'd like to talk about, but in a half-hour pregame show with inserts and commercials and features, like there's just no time. There's very little time to talk. But anyway, there's a quick comment that I think it was Farhan talking about and giving credit to Winnipeg, and he said the Winnipeg Bomber fans. I think he said it's the class of the CFL, the gold standard of the CFL. And I thought, I wonder what Rider fans think of that, because they're great. I mean, Bomber fans are great, but I always thought that it was the people around the league thought it was the Riders that were the gold standard. Is there where are we in that debate right now? And I don't know if there's not an answer, but is it because of the new stadium? I mean, they both have new stadiums. I don't know where that came from, but I'm surprised there wasn't backlash. How about that?
Well, they refused to acknowledge it, even if it were true. A. B. Farhan just stirring it up. B. C. Winnipeg is now the flagship franchise. Nobody can argue that, but in Saskatchewan, they don't even acknowledge that Winnipeg has taken the flag of the flagship franchise. They are, right? And as far as the fan base goes, why? Full stadium, Grey Cup appearances and wins, merchandise sales. It ain't a debate, bro. You want to sit and talk about? Do you actually think it's a debate?
I didn't know merchandise sales. I didn't know we were going by on the field. Obviously, they're better on the field, but I didn't know that the merchandise sales and the business side of Winnipeg was much more profitable than Sask right now. I know that.
Boom. By every metric, Winnipeg is the flagship franchise of this league and kicking everybody's ass, let alone their prairie rivals. But who's the better fans? I still got to say Saskatchewan, which is what you're saying. And agree or disagree?
Yeah, I have better people in Sask. I have better relationships probably with fans and people in Sask Winnipeg is. I agree. If you look at the stands and what they're doing in Winnipeg with the stadium and the attendance, they're both great. How about everyone else catch up? How about that? And BC's on everyone's tail right now, so I'd love to see it.
Well, there was a note. Somebody brought it up earlier this week that could BC become the flagship franchise? I'm like, they gotta win. They got to win. And I'm already looking forward to this Grey Cup more than I have for a long time. How about you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Amar Doman is he's the man. I love one thing he said in his presser, Roddy. He made a statement that really stuck for me. I've said this 50 times probably, but I love it. He said that this franchise, I'm not here for the short term, that regardless of what happens in the business of this franchise, it's going to be my family is 100% as long as I'm around and probably long after that. And a guy that's worth what he's worth, to make that sort of commitment vocally, like, I'm not here for 5 years, 10 years. I don't care what happens if we lose money, what the deal is. I'm in it because I want football to succeed. Like, that's what somebody else who's got big pockets, maybe Clark or you, step up and do the same thing. Like, someone's got to, we need people like that to step up. And it's, I love the fact that he was willing, him and his family were willing to put that sort of commitment to football in BC with his mouth and his time and his wallet, which is massive.
Sold.
Oh, man. You're from Vancouver, right? Like, you must have an amazing amount of pride to sit where you are and watch this and just go, like, whoa, like, how big can it get? That's kind of what I'm sitting here going, how big can this go?
One thing I always say is that if you want, and it's not so much for Rider fans and Bombers fans who are, who is the class, they're both up at the top. And there's other organizations as well, but they're there. It's for the Vancouvers, it's for the big cities, the Vancouvers, the Torontos, the Montreals. They need big time in order to, they don't have as much of the pride that the Prairies teams have, unfortunately. And they need big time star power in order for them to buy in. So the fact that Amar is willing to spend $500,000, I don't know how much he spent. 50 Cent wasn't, you're not getting 50 Cent for $250,000, I'll tell you that. So it's probably $500,000 or more. The reason, so in that star power is just going to attract that younger demo and make the CFL big time. And that big time feel is, in some markets, is what needed. It should be the pride that we've been around for 100 years. That should be enough. And it's a great game. But unfortunately, those metropolitan cities, and I'll throw Montreal in there too, got to have that big time feel, or folks just don't think it's cool to show up. So the fact they're doing that, I love it.
Yeah, well, you're big time. And I'm sorry, Jim, we're out of time. I mean, Davis, we're out of time. I got to go. Sorry to cut you off. But break a leg this weekend. I'll be watching.
How about that?
You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Great job, Ronnie.
You too, my guy. All right, the great Davis Sanchez, NFL, CFL alum, CFL on TSN.